Steam's most recent Next Fest, which brings with it a plethora of demos to play, has come to an end. There were so many games I was excited to try, too many if I'm being honest, and I knew I wouldn't have time to get through all of them. So I did what any rational person would do and put them on a roulette wheel and spun it to decide which I would check out. I played 16 demos in total, most of them on live stream, and I'm here now to give you my takeaways. So sit back, relax, have yourself a nice warm drink as we dive into the 16 demos I played during Steam's Next Fest. I am all for the slew of plant-based games that I feel like we've been seeing lately. Botany Manor mixes the plant identification of strange horticulture with escape room type puzzles and a really lovely art style. The best part of this demo was getting to walk around and explore the environments. The greenhouse, gardens, and manor itself were lovely and detailed, and just wandering around felt so peaceful. The escape room puzzle part of the game was relatively simple through the demo, but satisfying all the same, and I can see where it could get more complicated as time goes on. The premise was simple: learn about a plant and what special properties it has, get it to grow, use it to move to the next area. I could see later in the game having to go back and use what you've learned about different plants or even combine their properties to be able to progress, and that makes me really excited to play more. The map looks huge too, with the manor comprising several floors and being surrounded by gardens, so it seems like there'll be a lot to explore and learn in the full release of the game. This will absolutely be one that I keep my eye on through its development, and I'm really looking forward to getting further into it. Planetiles in many ways follows the formula set by its tile-placing predecessors like Dorfromantik and Panorama, but mixes it up enough to feel fresh. In Planetiles, you place Tetris-like pieces of different terrain types onto a planet-shaped map. Matching like terrain pieces scores more points, and getting a 3x3 square of any single terrain unlocks a building that gives you different powers to help you out, like allowing you to reshuffle your available tiles, which this game calls chunks. You also have access to various rules that you can implement when you start each round, and during the game will occasionally be presented with a bonus that comes along with a negative effect. The game is basically a full cost-benefit analysis exercise, but I think I mean that in a good way. I had a lot of fun playing Planetiles. I have a couple small complaints. The maps are a little hard to look at sometimes because of the curves, and the localization was sometimes rough and made understanding descriptions difficult, but I'm sure that they can iron that out easily enough. This demo didn't blow me away by any means, but I also found it enjoyable to play, so take that as you will. I would definitely play this again when it releases, but I also won't be chomping at the bit, unable to wait. So this is one to look out for if you enjoy games like Panorama and want something that's easy to pick up, play for a bit, and then put aside. I want to like Critter Crops. I really want to like it, and maybe when the game fully releases I will, but the demo did very little to grab my attention. Critter Crop starts off like a pretty standard farm sim. You're new in town, and after inheriting a farm that has seen better days, and your task is to bring it back to life. The main difference between this and other farm sims is that it leans hard into a cute, witchy theme, and the art style is really sweet, if a bit simple, and in need of a touch of more depth and detail. My main issue with the demo was the pace. It was so incredibly slow. Everything from the way your character moves, to the rate at which crops grow, to the fact that the town has no characters in it to start with. I get that cozy games often have a slower, more relaxed pace, and this is something that might change further along in development, but I often found myself not having anything to do during the demo, and just trying to go to sleep for the night, which by the way you can't do until it's night in game. So I just sort of wander around the very limited and empty map space until it was finally dark and I could go to sleep. I'll keep my eyes on this one, but based on the demo, I don't think it's a game that I would pick up on release. Wow. My basic sentiment after playing Lost and Found Code is wow. For being effectively a digital Where's Waldo, this was so much fun to play. I think in large part that fun comes from the fact that it's a world that is full and animated and lively, which made searching through it really engaging. I was constantly finding references or funny vignettes while searching for the objects I was looking for. And that's all without mentioning that so many things around the map could be interacted with, like when you click on a cat and it stretches and meows, or one cool moment when I was looking for a soda can and clicked on a vending machine that dispensed the one I was trying to find. It's touches like that which bring a sense of wonder and fun to the game that at its core is just about looking around and spotting things. I also really enjoyed that some of the tasks were multi-step. For example, in the second level of the demo, you're tasked with finding drinks, and once you find them, your next step is to locate the customers who ordered them. It's a great touch that adds an element of questing to your searches. There's a story that underpins everything, so rather than just looking around for random objects, you're trying to find specific things in order to help you progress the story, which is then laid out in comic book style cutscenes that were really cute. There's no dialogue, but you still get the full understanding of what's happening and why you're doing what you're doing. It is a great game, and I'm so excited to play more. Follow the Meaning has a really unique style. It looks hand-drawn and colored with crayons, which is really cool and different. Unfortunately, that's where my enjoyment ended. I'm not saying that this demo was bad or that I think the game won't be good. At its core, it seemed like a pretty solid point-and-click adventure. You play as a detective who travels to an area where the people live in fear of a hospital and a wall divides them. In the style of games like Monkey Island, you find items throughout the world that help you solve puzzles, unlock areas, trade for other items. It's all pretty standard fare. But it's just not for me. Not because of the gameplay, but because of the theming. It's kind of gross on purpose in service of the overall creepy vibe. I get it, but instead of finding it creepy and intriguing, I just found myself not really wanting to play or explore further. I think that if you enjoy borderline gross out horror, then you might find the good game in Follow the Meaning, but the demo will be where my experience with this one ends. You know I love a good puzzle game, and Paint is a great puzzle game. Paint sees you navigating around a platforming map with a cute little doodle made by a child. The puzzle comes in the form of changing your color in order to progress. You move through walls and platforms that are the same color as you, but that also means that you can't stand on them. So for example, if you make yourself red and you need to get to a paint bucket sitting on a red platform, then you need to find a way to make yourself green or blue or yellow before you can stand there. It gets more complicated when it introduces tubes of paint that you have to pick up and transport to buckets to pour in before you can change your colors. So you have to decide which tube of paint should go in which bucket to make you a specific color so that you can move to the next, and so on. Your ultimate goal is to get to a paintbrush that will paint in the door, allowing you to move to the next level. I loved it. To sum it all up, I loved it. The puzzles were complicated without being frustrating, the progression of difficulty was smooth, and finding the solutions was rewarding. Wrap all that up in a really cute and simple art style and give it a good background track of music, and you have the makings of a great, relaxing puzzle game. I absolutely recommend checking this one out. Kamaeru sees you managing a sanctuary for adorable frogs alongside your childhood best friend. The gameplay is part management sim, part creature collector as you build a sanctuary and see more and more varieties of frogs showing up. You can tame the frogs by feeding them their favorite bugs, and eventually breed them through a tic-tac-toe minigame to determine their traits, allowing you to guide their evolution toward new color combinations. The frogs are just half of the management game, as you also try to restore the nearby wetlands, which gives you access to new bugs that you can capture and feed to your frogs, as well as resources you can cook up into treats that you can sell in order to purchase more things for the sanctuary. The wetlands part and the sanctuary part sometimes felt a little bit disjointed, and I actually spent a lot of my time during the demo in the wetlands area just waiting because I always needed more bugs or money. Once you add pond areas and plants to the wetlands, it produces resources over time, so it really felt like an idle game sometimes, as I would sit there waiting for enough bugs to go feed to frogs to tame, or enough goods to make things to sell. The end of the demo promises that the full release of the game will feature even more frogs and components, and I'm sure that's true, so I'll be curious to see how that changes things. I should also probably mention that the people hanging out during the live stream loved this game, so my opinion might not be widely shared on this one. I don't think it's a bad game, and it definitely checks all the boxes of a very chill game, but I worry that the chill will be at the expense of any excitement. Something to keep an eye on nonetheless. I almost didn't add this one to my roulette wheel. At first glance, I expected it to be bland. Maybe that's a bit harsh, but I thought, do I really have any interest in this crafting game? I'm really happy to report that I actually loved this demo, and if I hadn't had so many to get through, I probably would have spent more time playing it. Lightyear Frontier sees you crashing onto an alien planet along with your mech suit. Once you have your mech up and running, it's time to start building up a base. It's pretty standard gathering and crafting mechanics, and there were no survival elements to pay attention to like hunger and thirst like I might have expected in a game like this, which really helps it with the chill, low-pressure feeling. You're contacted early on by a glimmering AI in the sky that helps to guide your early steps, and you start to learn more about the people and civilization that were here before. There are a lot of environmental themes, and in addition to building up your base, you're tasked with restoring areas of the map that are covered in some sort of toxic goo. What I found really interesting is that this started to feel more like a farm sim than a survival crafting game like I expected. As you build your base, you plant crops that you can turn into fodder to feed to native animals you find out in the wild. And on top of the gameplay feeling really good and relaxed, the game is beautiful. The sound design is great, it was smooth, it felt polished. I will absolutely be playing more of this one on release. I can very safely say that Duck Detective was far and away the most surprising demo that I played. I didn't really know what to expect for any of these games, but in this case, I really did not know what to expect. I genuinely laughed out loud so many times through this demo. The voice acting really sold it. Who doesn't want to play as a hardened, down on his luck Duck Detective with a bit of a bread problem? There are jokes and puns galore, every character was fun to talk to, and the gameplay was really satisfying. You have a notebook where you keep track of clues as you explore the environments and eventually piece together what's happening in order to progress the story. The demo didn't let you experience too much beyond the first main puzzle, which is to be expected, you don't want to spoil the whole game, but that was all it took for me to be absolutely hooked and enamored with this game. The film noir theme was beautifully portrayed and super funny, it was cute and a little bit naughty. I cannot speak highly enough about it, and I am eagerly awaiting the chance to play the full game. If you love Stardew Valley and want a magical and somewhat unsettling twist on the farm sim genre, then Everholm will absolutely be a game that you should check out. I liked it. That's the easy summary. It didn't blow me away, but I also didn't dislike it. I feel like I might have been a bit burned out on farm sims right now. I spent so much time playing Coral Island when it came to 1.0 access, but Everholm was a good demo. Again, it's one that I didn't spend too much time with because I was trying to get through as many as possible, but the bit that I played was fun, and shockingly, I think it looked good too. Maybe I don't dislike pixel art as much as I thought. Overall, Everholm is pretty standard farm sim in terms of gameplay. The farm is run down and you need to restore it. But the twist is that the world is magical, and the opening moments see you finding artifacts left behind by your sister, who then passes through a portal alongside a dark specter. You chase her through the portal, and wake up in a world where everyone seems to know you, but you don't know them or remember anything. The story is definitely intriguing, and this is a game I could conceivably see myself wanting to play when it comes out, but I wouldn't say it's at the top of my list. Much like Kamaeru, however, the people hanging out in my chat during the live stream loved it and couldn't wait to play it, so maybe my farm sim burnout really is pushing my bias. Regardless, if you're a farm sim fan, Everholm was cute, the story was intriguing, and it seemed like a solid game, so I definitely recommend giving it a try. I'm gonna cut to the chase with Magical Delicacy and say that of all the demos that I played, this is the one that I keep thinking about. That may be in large part because of the music, which was exactly the kind of music that will forever and always grab me. The soft classical vibe with a beautiful swelling to a moving crescendo. I love it. But overall, Magical Delicacy's demo was a delight to play. This is the kind of pixel art I can actually get behind. It was beautiful and detailed with a gorgeous and soft color scheme. It really helped to add to the overall effect of this peaceful and magical world. You play as a young witch who traveled from her hometown to a new city where you hear there are many witches from whom you can learn. From what I can tell, it seems like witches in this world are just chefs who use their magic to help them cook delicious food, which is a vibe I can fully get behind. You are given, or I guess sold, a rundown old restaurant and tasked with reviving it and making enough money to pay it off. The general gameplay loop is to find or grow ingredients, take your orders from people, cook, deliver the requested food, and then use the money to make improvements. You unlock new stations and decide where to place them in your kitchen, with each one allowing you new ways to prepare food. You also slowly gather recipes by purchasing them or being given them, which increases your range of offerings. Each ingredient has qualities that you can combine to meet the tastes of your clients. For instance, if a client doesn't like spicy food, then you should probably avoid using an ingredient with the spicy trait. The demo was so wholesome and happy, and I just want to play more. I'm curious to see how many customization options there really are, or how much detail you can get into with your shop given this side-scrolling perspective, but regardless, this is one that I am really excited for. Baladins is a digital board game meets D&D with a lighthearted and wholesome slant, and I really enjoyed my time with this demo. You choose your class at the beginning of the game and have a selection of traits that will help you determine how successful you are with various tasks that you will encounter as you make your way around the game board. As you make decisions on what to do, you'll roll dice and add the related trait to see if you accomplish your goal or if you fail spectacularly. Your stats will increase as you take on certain tasks, making it easier to do more, and decisions are largely based on what your best stats are. For instance, I played the Dancer class, and anytime I had the option to do something physically, I chose that because it was my highest score. Baladins can be played solo or with up to 3 of your friends, and when played cooperatively, you can work together, adding your stat bonuses to each other to complete your goals. While I had fun playing the demo solo, I really do think this is one that will prove to be a game that is much better played with a group of friends, which makes a lot of sense considering the same is true about both board games and D&D. I can only imagine the funny stories that could come out of this when played socially. Regardless, the Baladins demo was a great time, and I really recommend keeping it in mind, especially if you're a fan of tabletop RPGs and have a group that you can play with. Aarik and the Ruined Kingdom is a puzzle game that reminds me of an M.C. Escher painting in the way that you manipulate the level to allow you to walk along pathways based on perspective. It's a very interesting concept, but at the moment I feel like calling it a puzzle game is kind of a stretch. The puzzle elements largely consisted of just rotating perspective to set points until things lined up, then do that again, and now again. It really didn't take much active thinking as much as it took just turning things around until it fit together. It never felt satisfying or rewarding to complete a level. Eventually you unlock an ability to move objects like puzzle pieces into place, but again, it didn't really add any complexity to the puzzle aspect of the game. Toward the end of the demo, for example, you have to locate pieces of the statues and put them back together. The pieces were bright red and always went in the same spots, and then the statues would point the way forward for you. It just didn't bring about any sense of accomplishment for me when I was done. I'd be interested to see if later levels get more puzzly and complex, but for the time being, nothing really grabbed me or made me feel the desire to push through and see more. There's something really special about Fireside, but I also feel like I can't quite put my finger on it. You play as a merchant who's been stranded following a shipwreck, and you quickly meet a lot of other people who have ended up here as well. You travel campsite to campsite gathering items and making deals, but there's a catch. Your goal isn't to make the most money or have the most things. Your goal is to help people, to be generous, to be kind. Maybe that's what makes it so special. Most games about trading goods have the end goal of making a lot of money, where Fireside encourages you to make smart deals, but rewards you when you help people and show kindness. Everyone you encounter has something they really want, and deals are presented from your perspective on a set of scales. But the scales can be deceiving. Sometimes people will see something as having much more value than you would consider it to have. So you have to take into account what they want and try to figure out a good deal that your trading partner will agree to. The pace of the game is slow and gentle, but it never feels dull. The characters that I met were also intriguing, especially this little raindrop guy who was left behind by his mom, who's a cloud. Fireside plays a bit like a board game, much like Baladins. You have a limited amount of movement and action points to cover ground before you have to take a rest, so you find yourself trying to maximize what you can do, which helps add a bit of strategy to keep the game from feeling too low stakes. Overall, I think this game is really something great, and I'll be interested to watch its progress. I didn't give Pathless Woods that long to make an impression. The demo allowed for up to 10 hours of gameplay, but I only played the tutorial before bouncing off, which in itself might be a testimonial of how I felt about it. I know that's probably not being fair, the tutorial doesn't necessarily directly correlate with how the game itself will play, but I just couldn't find it in myself to want to play more. What's interesting is that most of the games on this list that I did not find myself giving high praise are the ones that just didn't captivate me, and this definitely falls in that category. Something about it felt generic, and that's maybe being a little bit harsh, and it's possible that by this point I was just feeling really burnt out on demos, but I felt like the tutorial didn't give me a compelling reason to play more, and it didn't present me with anything unique other than being based on Chinese culture, which was the one interesting point that I found. Overall, it plays like a standard survival game, and I think that's likely one of the reasons that it didn't captivate me. I like survival games, I really do, but the market is incredibly saturated with them these days. If you look at a list of upcoming games, you'll doubtless find several survival crafting games right on the horizon. Right now, off the top of my head, I can think about Enshrouded, which just recently came out, and Nightingale, which is imminent. So being a survival game that is successful right now means really needing something that makes you stand out. And while I love that Pathless Woods is based on Chinese culture, the bit of gameplay it presented me with didn't feel particularly smooth or polished, the art style wasn't terribly compelling, and I just didn't find something to really pull me in and excite me. Where Aarik and the Ruined Kingdoms puzzles felt a bit lacking in the effort involved, Castle of Boxes swung hard in the other direction. You can play Castle of Boxes either solo or cooperatively with a friend and take control of 2 cats. One is strong and can move toy boxes, and the other is small and can stand on what I can only describe as pit traps. You move them independently of each other to solve each level. I found myself pretty quickly scratching my head trying to figure out what to do, but I never felt frustrated. That's largely thanks to the fact that the puzzles were kept small and resetting was instantaneous, so each attempt ran quickly. I'd spend some time considering my options, try it out, and if it didn't work, I'd just reset and try again. It was a fast and clean gameplay loop that also made it feel okay to just see if something works, and if it doesn't, try it again. The best part about puzzles that feel tricky like these is that they give you a big sense of accomplishment when you finally figure it out and all the pieces fall into place. This game was simple in design and art style, just a really classic puzzle game, but I had so much fun figuring it out, and I'm excited for the chance to play more. I also can't wait to unlock more cute outfits for these cats. Before I tell you my 4 favorite games, I want to take just a quick moment to say thank you so much for being here and for watching this video. I had a lot of fun playing these demos on stream and loved putting this together to share with you. If you enjoy cozy game content and you want to come along with me on this journey, then be sure to subscribe to the channel. Subscribing really helps to support me in the content that I make and gets me one step closer to my next major milestone of 1,000 subscribers. You can also join as a channel member and/or join the community Discord to come hang out with fellow cozy game enthusiasts. And don't forget to leave me a comment below and let me know what demos you played and which ones you're most excited about. Okay, picking my favorites is surprisingly difficult, which is why I settled on 4. These are in no particular order, so interpret that as you will, but I'm gonna start off with Paint. I loved the style of this game, and I'm a huge fan of puzzle games that really make you think and give you that rewarding feeling of accomplishment when you finally figure it out. Castle of Boxes was also really good, but I think of the puzzle games I checked out, Paint is the one that I'm most excited to play more of. I've also really got to give it to Magical Delicacy for the staying power alone. I'm not kidding about how much I've thought about this since playing the demo, and frankly, I'm shocked by that. But it really has stuck with me, and I want to explore this world, cook more food, grow more plants, and interact with a cast of characters. It was wholesome and fun and beautiful, and it feels perfect to play on handheld on the couch curled up under a blanket, which is my exact current vibe, honestly. Lost and Found Co. is way up there for me as well. There seems to be a trend with games that really took me by surprise being on this list. The concept is simple, like I said, it's a digital Where's Waldo, with the animations, the interactions, the references, the multi-step missions, and wrapping it all in a story makes it simultaneously familiar but also fresh. I had a blast looking around the scenes and kept getting distracted and delighted by all the little details that I was finding. What an absolute gem of a game. Lastly, I'm throwing big praise to Duck Detective, again one that totally surprised me. The final game is slated to be about 2 to 3 hours long, so it'll be a really good bite-sized game that I fully anticipate cracking me up the entire time. I think this game will be defined by the word fun. You might be thinking, well, yeah, Brock, games are supposed to be fun, but I actually think it's somewhat rare to encounter a game that is just fully about having fun. It's weird and silly, simple and stylish, and has some really great voice acting to boot. Bring it on. So there you have it. The full recap of all the demos I played during Next Fest. Which game looks most intriguing to you? I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Thank you so much for watching this video. I will see you back here on the channel really soon. Until then, take care of yourself. Bye.